neighbor demanded I let their construction crew use my property as a shortcut and staging area. So, my neighbors, the Johnsons, not their real name, who bought the house next door about 6 months ago, are doing some major renovations, like tearing down and rebuilding a significant portion of the house. It's been noisy, messy, and generally disruptive. But hey, that's construction, right? I've been trying to be patient. My property is pretty standard for the neighborhood, a decent sized yard with a fence running along the property line. Their property is similar, but their renovation project is focused on the side of their house that's furthest from the street and closest to my fence. About a week ago, Mr. Johnson came over all smiles and waving. I figured he was coming to apologize for the noise or maybe give us a heads up about something specific. Nope. He launched into how difficult it was for his construction crew to get materials and equipment to the back of his house. Said they had to go all the way around the block, which was apparently a huge inconvenience. Then, without even a hint of asking, he stated that they would need to start using my driveway and a section of my backyard as a shortcut and a place to temporarily store some materials. I was taken aback. I calmly explained that I wasn't comfortable with that. It's my private property, and having heavy equipment and a constant stream of workers cutting through my yard is a non-starter. It would damage my lawn, potentially my driveway, and frankly it's a security and privacy issue. His smile immediately dropped, his face went red, and he puffed up his chest. He said, "But it's just temporary. For a few weeks, you're being unreasonable. We're neighbors. You have to help us out. It's the neighborly thing to do." I reiterated that while I understand their difficulty, using my property wasn't an option. I suggested they talk to their contractors about finding a different solution on their own property, or perhaps getting a temporary easement from the city if absolutely necessary, though I didn't see why that would be needed just to access their backyard. That's when he really lost it. He started yelling about how selfish I was, how he couldn't believe I wouldn't help a neighbor, and how this would delay his project and cost him more money, which would be my fault. He actually said, and I quote, "We have a right to finish our house, and your yard is the easiest way. You can't just block us." A right to use my private property without permission because it's convenient, for him? The sheer entitlement was staggering. I told him firmly that he absolutely did not have a right to use my property, and if anyone trespassed or tried to dump materials on my land, I would call the police and potentially involve lawyers. He sputtered for a bit longer, threatening vaguely about making things difficult for me before storming off back to his house. Since then, things have been tense. His crew hasn't trespassed, thankfully, but I've noticed them peering over the fence, and the Johnsons haven't spoken to me at all. The construction is still going on, and they seem to be managing just fine without using my yard, proving it wasn't some impossible logistical challenge, just them wanting the easiest, cheapest option at my expense. I'm just baffled by the audacity, not even asking, but demanding access to my property like it was theirs to use is completely soured any potential for a good neighborly relationship right from the start. The audacity to just demand access and then get mad, classic entitled behavior. Hit that subscribe button if you agree. My aunt thinks my good job means I should fund her vacation. I've worked incredibly hard to get where I am in my career. It involved years of studying, taking on significant student debt, working entry-level jobs with long hours and low pay, and constantly striving to improve my skills and position. I finally landed a job in a field I'm passionate about, and yes, it pays well. Not private jet and yacht well, but enough to live comfortably, save for the future, and occasionally treat myself. My extended family isn't particularly wealthy. Most of them work decent jobs, but nobody is exactly rolling in money. My Aunt Carol, however, seems to think that because I don't complain about money or live paycheck to paycheck like some others in the family, I must be secretly hoarding vast riches. She called me last week, starting with the usual pleasantries before pivoting abruptly. She started talking about how stressed she was, how she hadn't had a real vacation in years, and how she desperately needed to get away. I sympathized, suggesting she look into some affordable weekend trips or maybe a staycation. That's when she dropped the bomb. She said, "Well, I saw your photos from your trip last year, a modest week-long trip I saved up for. You clearly have money to travel. I was thinking since you're doing so well, you could help me out, like pay for my trip to Hawaii." I actually laughed, thinking she was joking. When I realized she was serious, I was stunned into silence for a moment. I finally managed to say, "Aunt Carol, I can't pay for your trip to Hawaii. That's incredibly expensive." She got indignant. "But you can afford it? You have a good job. What do you even spend your money on? I bet you just save it all." What's the point of having money if you don't help family? I'm family. I need this exclamation mark. I tried to explain that my income isn't unlimited. I have my own bills, student loans, mortgage, retirement savings, and other financial obligations. I also pointed out that I saved for my own trips and didn't expect anyone else to pay for them. She completely dismissed this. Oh, don't be silly. You make plenty. More than enough for one person. You don't have kids or a family to support like I do. She has grown children who are financially independent. She went on about how much she deserved a break, how unfair it was that she couldn't afford to travel while I could, and how it was my duty as a successful family member to lift others up. She even suggested I could just give her my credit card details to book the flights and hotel. I firmly refused, stating that I would not be paying for her vacation, nor would I be giving her my credit card. I told her that while I love her, my money is not her money, and I have my own financial responsibilities and goals. She got very cold and accused me of being selfish and forgetting where I came from. She said she was disappointed in me and hung up. She hasn't spoken to me since. It's frustrating and hurtful that she sees my hard work and success not as something I earned, but as a personal piggy bank for her desires. The idea that my financial stability automatically translates into an obligation to fund her wants is mind-bogglingly entitled. Customer demanded a massive discount because she knew the owner. She didn't. I work in a relatively high-end retail store. We sell specialized goods that aren't cheap, and our pricing is pretty standard and non-negotiable unless there's a specific sale or promotion happening. Customer service is a big part of the job, but we're also trained to handle difficult people and protect the store's policies. A few weeks ago, a woman, let's call her Karen because of course, came in and was looking at one of our most expensive items. She spent about 20 minutes examining it, asking a few basic questions, and then announced she wanted to buy it. Okay, great. I started processing the sale. As I was ringing it up, she leaned in conspiratorially and said, "Now I need you to apply my discount, a substantial one." I politely explained that the item wasn't on sale and we didn't have any active promotions for it. She waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, I don't mean a sale discount. I mean my personal discount. I know owner's name and we're very good friends. He always gives me a special price. Now, I've worked here for years and I know the owner fairly well. He's a private person, and while he has friends, he doesn't just hand out massive undocumented discounts. He also tends to mention if a particular friend is coming in." I asked for her name so I could verify the account, a standard line for this kind of situation. She gave a name I didn't recognize, and it certainly wasn't on any list of people who receive special pricing. I told her, "I'm sorry, I don't see any special pricing associated with that name. Perhaps you could give me a specific code or mention who I should speak to." She huffed. "Don't be ridiculous. Just give me the friends and family discount. You know, the big one." Owner's name said I could have whatever I wanted at a good price. He wouldn't want you treating his friends this way. I explained again that I couldn't apply a discount without authorization, especially one that didn't seem to exist. I offered to call the owner, expecting her to back down, but she said, "Fine, call him. He'll tell you." So I called the owner's number. He answered, and I explained the situation, giving him her name. There was a pause, and then he said very clearly, "I have no idea who that is. I've never met anyone by that name. Tell her there is no discount." I relayed this information to Karen. Her face was a picture of disbelief turning into fury. "That's impossible. He knows me. We had lunch just last week. He's probably just testing you. Put him back on." I told her the owner had hung up and confirmed there was no discount. She then demanded to speak to the manager. My manager came over, I explained the situation, and Karen repeated her story about being best friends with the owner and deserving a huge discount. The manager, who also knows the owner well and had never heard of this woman, calmly told her the same thing. No discount, no record of her knowing the owner in a capacity that would grant her one. The manager even added, "Our owner is very clear about pricing. If he said you had a discount, you'd have a code or something in writing. Since you don't and he says he doesn't know you, the price is as marked." Karen exploded. She started yelling about how we were all incompetent, how she was going to tell the owner how poorly we treated his friends, how she would make sure we were fired, and how she would never shop here again, as if she ever had. She made a huge scene, attracting the attention of other customers. Finally, she just stormed out, empty-handed, muttering threats under her breath. The whole thing was ridiculous. The sheer entitlement to demand a discount based on a fabricated relationship and then act personally offended when caught in the lie was astounding. Some people really believe their perceived status or connection should grant them special privileges everywhere they go. When your "I know the owner" lie gets debunked by the actual owner, that's peak entitled behavior. Stranger at the park demanded I move my leashed, calm dog because her kid was scared. I take my dog, a very gentle and well-behaved golden retriever named Buddy, to the local park almost every day. It's a large park with plenty of open space, walking trails, and designated areas. Dogs are allowed but must be leashed at all times, which Buddy always is. He's friendly, but mostly just minds his own business, sniffing around or sitting calmly by my side. Yesterday I was sitting on a bench off to the side of a large grassy area, reading a book, with Buddy lying peacefully at my feet, still on his leash. There were a few other people scattered around, some with kids playing further away. A woman and her young child, maybe around 4 or 5, walked past about 30 feet away. The child pointed at Buddy and said something to the mother. The mother then stopped, looked over at us, and started walking purposefully towards me. She stopped a few feet away and in a loud, demanding voice said, "You need to move your dog." My child is scared of dogs. Buddy hadn't even reacted to them walking by. He was still just lying down, occasionally thumping his tail against the grass. I looked at her, a bit confused. "He's on his leash and just lying here," I said. "He's not bothering anyone." "That doesn't matter," she insisted. "Hey, my child is scared. His presence is upsetting them. You need to take him somewhere else. Go over there," she said, gesturing vaguely towards a far corner of the park, easily a 5-minute walk away. I was taken aback by the demand. This is a public park where dogs are allowed. Buddy was following all the rules, being quiet and contained. I explained, "This is a public area and my dog is leashed and under control. We were here first. There's plenty of room in the park for you to move to a different area if your child is uncomfortable." Her face hardened. "Are you serious? You're prioritizing your dog over a child's comfort? How selfish can you be? My child has a right to be here without being scared. You need to be considerate and just move. It's not that hard." I tried to remain calm but was getting annoyed. "Ma'am, I understand your child is scared, but this is a shared public space. I am following all the rules. If you need your child to be completely free from seeing any dogs, perhaps a private area or a different type of park would be better. I'm not going to leave this area because your child is scared of a leashed, calm dog." She became even more agitated. "So you're just going to sit there and traumatize my child? You're unbelievable. What if he barked? What if he got loose?" "Buddy is securely leashed to me, and he rarely barks at strangers. But he's not barking and he is not loose," I replied. "He's lying right here. I'm sorry your child is scared, but you can easily walk to another part of the park. There are acres of space." I pointed out that there were other people with dogs visible in other sections of the park too. She ignored that and continued to demand I move, escalating her tone and attracting the attention of people nearby. She started saying things like, "Some people shouldn't have dogs if they can't be considerate," and "You're ruining our day." I eventually just turned back to my book and stopped engaging with her, stating that I wasn't going to argue about it and wouldn't be moving. She stood there for another minute or two, muttering angrily, before finally huffing and dragging her child away towards a different section of the park, casting dirty looks back at me and poor oblivious Buddy. The level of entitlement was astounding. Expecting someone to completely alter their use of a public space despite following all rules, simply because her child had a personal fear, and then demanding it as if it were her right. It's frustrating how some people believe the world should rearrange itself to cater to their specific sensitivities, especially in shared public areas. Your kid is scared of a dog, fine, you move. Not the person following the rules. What are your craziest park entitlement stories? Let me know in the comments. Former classmate I haven't spoken to in a decade demanded I give her job leads and professional contacts. I graduated from college about 10 years ago. I was reasonably social, but I had a core group of friends and wasn't particularly close with everyone in my classes. Since graduating, I focused on building my career in a specific, somewhat competitive industry. It's taken a lot of networking, long hours, and proving myself to get to a good place professionally. Last week, I received a LinkedIn message from someone I barely remembered, a girl named Sarah who was in a couple of my large lecture classes back in freshman year. We might have exchanged polite greetings a few times, but we were never friends, didn't hang out, and certainly didn't keep in touch after college. The message started off superficially friendly, like, "Hey, long time no see, hope you're doing well, I responded politely, something like, "Hi Sarah, yes, it's been a while, doing well, hope you are too." Her reply came back immediately, cutting straight to the chase. "Great, listen, I saw your profile and it looks like you're doing amazing things in my industry. That's awesome. I'm actually looking to get into that field, but it's been really tough. I need your help. Okay, fair enough. Maybe she wants some general advice. I replied, happy to offer some general advice if I can. What are you hoping to get into specifically? Her next message was a list of demands. Okay, so I need you to send me a list of all the companies currently hiring for entry-level positions, even if they're not advertised, and I need you to introduce me to at least 5 people in your network who are in hiring positions. Can you also look over my resume and cover letter and tell me what's wrong with them? I'm applying everywhere, but not getting interviews. I read that and blinked. She wasn't asking for advice, she was demanding I do her job search for her and leverage my hard-earned network for a complete stranger. Someone I hadn't spoken to in a decade, who had made zero effort to build any kind of relationship with me before needing something. I responded, trying to be polite but firm. Sarah, I appreciate you reaching out, but I'm not able to provide you with unadvertised job lists or introduce you to my professional contacts like that. Building a network takes time and trust. I can't just forward a stranger's resume to people I've built relationships with over years. I can give you some general pointers on where to look for job boards or maybe suggest some industry associations to join, but I can't do the legwork for you. Her response was immediate and aggressive. Wow, so much for helping people out. I thought you were supposed to be successful. Successful people help others. I just need a foot in the door and you have the connections. What's the big deal? Are you afraid I'll be competition? I was floored by the entitlement. Afraid of competition from someone who expects others to hand them opportunities on a silver platter? I explained more directly this time that my network isn't a public service and my contacts are people I respect and wouldn't impose upon without a strong reason and connection. I also pointed out that expecting someone to just give you their network is unprofessional and not how this works. She continued to argue, saying I was being selfish and hoarding opportunities. She actually wrote, "It's not fair that you got lucky and got a good job and won't help someone who's struggling. Just send the emails. It takes 2 seconds. Got lucky? Ignoring all the effort, debt, and struggle it took to get here. I finally just stopped replying. She sent a couple more angry messages, calling me names before thankfully giving up. The audacity of someone who was barely an acquaintance demanding access to my professional network and expecting me to do their job search for them simply because I had something she wanted was truly peak entitlement. Demanding my entire network after 10 years and saying I got lucky, unbelievable entitlement. Hope you enjoyed these stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe.